less valuable than active customers. Therefore, we should focus all our attention on active customers only. That is absolutely not true, and I'm going to talk you through why that is. Hello and welcome to Engage and Thrive, also known as EAT, your coffee catch-up with me, your host, Taelon, where we will go through common problems and hurdles that come up in business, marketing and advertising and try and demystify them. I know firsthand how complicated and confusing it can seem with all the different acronyms and all the things to do in business. So let me try and help you be better in business. First things first, let's start with grabbing a coffee. An active customer is someone who is actively looking for a product or service which may be yours or maybe a competitor and comparing results. An example is best home exercise equipment. I'm looking for there and then equipment to buy to use at home. My conversion is likely to be 1 to 2 weeks max. Then a passive customer would be someone that may not even know your product or service exists. So they may be searching for information, reading comparison websites. Maybe they already follow you on social, but they just haven't quite decided to buy yet. They may follow influencers. So for example, I may follow a fitness influencer just because I want to get back into fitness or I want to do something, but I haven't quite done it yet. I'm interested, but I don't know that I need any equipment yet. Likely that it will take 3 to 6 months to convert for a passive customer. Again, these are sweeping statements just to give you an example comparison of the two. Typically, the passive demographic actually are a lower conversion cost. So it's a longer relationship that you're building with them. So you're building that brand awareness and that trust gradually over time to get them to convert. The other thing to note is with a passive customer, once you've built that trust, they are typically the longer term customers that you have ongoing. 3 key takeaways about your active versus passive target customers and how you can understand those as part of your customer profile groups when you're coming up with your marketing strategy or your advertising or even your business goals. So, number 1, just to understand the variables of what make up a passive customer. So the first one might be their life stage. If you're buying a house, so you're either in the process of buying a house or about to move to a newer house, you may be looking for other furniture for your new house. Therefore, you're not buying yet. Especially if you're in the process of buying a house, that may take a few months, so you're not going to be buying soon. Another one is finances. So for example, if I want to buy a Rolex, I will need to save up for a Rolex. It may take me years to save up for a Rolex, but it's likely that I'm going to be signed up to all of Rolex's stuff, their newsletter, regularly visit their website, follow them on social, potentially even engage with their content on social because I'm dying to have a Rolex. A new market or a new city. Are you actually looking to expand into a new city? For example, your targeting could be in London and you're looking to expand into Birmingham or Manchester. You've not tapped into those target geographical locations before. Therefore, they're all passive because they may not know who you are. And this is for product or service. The same could be said for a new language. If you're currently doing content and targeting in English, but you're looking to target in Spanish, that's completely new and that's a passive demographic. Another example is previous experience. So for example, I have bought a robot vacuum cleaner before. It was terrible. It's probably going to take me a long time to buy another robot vacuum because I didn't have a good experience last time. Another one is perceived need. So how much your target customer feels like they need your product. For example, I need a Starlink, but I don't really need a Starlink. I know I need one if I want to travel a bit more and maybe go on a boat for a few months, but I don't need it right now. So I follow Starlink's content, I'm updated with everything, but I'm not buying yet. Another one is brand loyalty. So again, using real life examples, I'm a very, very loyal customer to Lululemon. I have seen targeting and a lot of content around Gymshark, but I haven't quite taken the plunge yet because I'm really loyal to Lululemon and I don't know what Gymshark's got over Lululemon. Another one is information overload. So to give you an example, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Hulu, Now TV, all of that, they are such a saturated market on on-demand TV. How do you know what to do? So if you were a new product or service going into a saturated market, or maybe information overload from someone, so they don't know who to pick because it's really hard and it's really confusing and all the packages and costs are all the same and what do I do? And the final point, just on another variable that makes someone a passive demographic, is social. So this may be social in terms of like what's happening in where they're living, or friends and family, or influence. So if, for example, a family member told them about a product or service, your product or service, that would be the passive demographic coming through. But I don't even know about it. I'm just getting referred information from my social environment. Number 2, marketing channels, active versus passive. So you understand your audience, you understand the variable of the passive audience, and now you need to decide which channels to use to target your active audience versus your passive audience. One thing to bear in mind, your active audience, like we said, actively looking for information, products and services like you, maybe looking at competitors, maybe doing comparisons. Examples of platforms or channels that you may be using for your active targeting of customers is Google pay-per-click. So for example, if someone's going on Google search and they're typing in best home equipment, like we were saying earlier, you want to come up at the top, right? You want to be that number one that they click on that. The same if you want to do that gym equipment in Amazon sponsored ads right there and then. So when they're searching it, you're coming up. You may want to do targeted emails. So you have an email newsletter list and you've broken down your different demographics by what they bought previously. How could you retarget them? Because you've got a summer promotion and that's how you want to get their attention. If they've gone on your website and they've left something in their basket and they haven't actually checked out, that's called abandoned cart. Again, active. They've actively gone on your website, picked that product or service, but just not quite purchased. You would want to target them that way. The same could be said for YouTube adverts. Again, if you're thinking of Google ads, so Google owns YouTube and people are searching for certain products or services, or how to use, or how do I do this, think about that and have a YouTube ad coming up. The same with your TikTok ads. So if you've built a really good community on TikTok and you know it's the right demographic, use TikTok ads and get in their face. The other one, which may be perceived as being for your active audience, is PR. So if you're doing PR stunts, so physically outside or releasing press releases in publications and newspapers that you know your active target demographic is going to be reading, that would all be perceived as for your active target demographic using PR. Right, channels for your passive demographic. Now, one that's going to be a hard hitter to say is search engine optimization, SEO. So when I was talking earlier about people looking on Google coming up as number 1, that's obviously pay-per-click for your first one as a sponsored ad. The ones that would then come up after, not as sponsored, is organically. So that's your search engine optimization. This is something, the reason why we're saying it's passive is because that's people searching, going through. You may not come up as number 1, but they're still actually searching and going through the search results and finding you that way. It's also that organically found your website or through content that you've been posting, so blogs, which kind of is all around content marketing and everything for that. The other thing that would be for your passive target demographic is social media. So like I mentioned earlier, people may follow you on social but haven't bought in yet. So they're following what you're doing, they're getting to know you, they're building your trust, you're building trust with them, but they haven't decided to buy yet. There are many different accounts that I follow on social that I know one day I want to buy something, but it's just not the right timing for me. The other one is word of mouth and referral. So this can actually come from your active demographic, your active customers, that they're referring you to their friends and family. But the referrals they're giving to that friends and family are likely to be passive, because that's not necessarily a friends and family that are looking for that robot vacuum there and then, or looking to buy that Rolex there and then. The other thing to think about if you wanted the ads perspective is Facebook ads. So a lot of targeting you do around Facebook ads is more around lifestyle and behavior marketing, which we could go into a whole nother episode about behavior marketing. But Facebook uses behavior marketing to target people. So it's not based on certain keywords that you search. It's based on demographic data about your target customers. Okay, number 3, which is probably the grit of it, is how do you decide a budget? And when we talk about budgets, I mean it in twofold. One is about the physical money you might want to spend with ads or PR. And another one is the money of your time. So your time always has a value and a money. And so you need to understand how you want to balance that off. And this completely depends on where you are as a business, how big your team is, what your goals are right now, what you're looking to achieve, and your time frame. So to give you some examples, if you have a new product launch or service launch and you need big buzz and fast sales, right? It's likely that you would spend 70% of your budget, your time, on active, and 30% on your passive demographic. Scenario 2, if you're looking to do brand building, so brand awareness, you're going to nurture your audience, it's likely that you would spend 40% on your active demographic and 60% on your passive demographic. So if you have sales ticking over and you want to just build a bit more awareness because you've got a longer lead time, longer conversion, you're more mature in the market, that's the likely split that you'd want to do. Scenario 3, you're scared to try this passive demographic, or maybe your manager is scared and you can't convince them. Start small. So do 80% on your active demographic and your active target audience and 20% on your passive audience. And don't forget, when I'm talking about the active and passive, it links in with all your marketing activity. So that's not just your ad spend, that is your social media, your search engine optimization, everything around it. And if you want a balanced off approach, so scenario 4, you may want to do 50-50. So 50% active, 50% passive. One thing I will say with all these percentage splits is you need to do what's right for your business, where you are, what's happening in the market, what's your goals, what you're looking to achieve. And whenever you do, remember to optimize it and report on it and make decisions on the data. So what's converting, what's coming through, what's the biggest spend, what are you getting your best return on investment? Utilize that. But remember, with the passive demographic, like I was talking about earlier, it may take 3 to 6 months. So don't just try to do, let's try and do passive for a month. And then after a month, nothing happens. And so you go, we don't want to target the passive demographic anymore because it's not working. Passive takes time. They need nurturing. They need to build the trust with you. But thank you for joining me for another episode of Engage and Thrive, and see you next week.